Good morning, Hope Zvara here, and I'm here to talk a little bit about prepping with a mini ball. And so now when working with a mini ball, it's really important to understand how to inflate the ball. And I know this seems silly, but many people overinflate a small 6 to 8 inch ball. And what ends up happening is the ball actually starts to take over the exercise rather than your actual core. So kind of rule of thumb, smaller framed person is going to have less air in the ball. So I always tell people your balls should look kind of sad, they shouldn't roll. Now a larger framed person should have a more inflated ball. So it really becomes individualized. As an instructor, I have a large array of different sized inflated balls in my closet, and so I educate my students, and so I start out by handing out balls, and then eventually they know what size they need to grab themselves. And one of the goals of a teacher is to empower your students to be more self-sufficient. And so this is a great thing to definitely talk with your students about. If you're just joining me for at-home practice today, take the little cork or plug out of your ball and let some air out. And again, gauging on your body size will predetermine how much inflated the ball should be. Secondly is where to place the ball and how to move with the ball. So as I turn sideways, and I'm going to snugly place the ball behind my sacrum. It's not that I'm tucking it underneath my backside, but rather just so it's not going to roll away. Or sometimes people too loosely place the ball, and then they come back and there's this gap between their lower pelvis and the actual ball placement. So just nicely snudge, or a new word, snudge the ball underneath right behind the sacrum. Now as I sit tall, I feel like I'm sitting on my actual sitting bones. Now, too much extension, I'm going to cross my legs here so you can get a look. The pelvis ends up throwing forward. So we're confusing sitting upright with actually thrusting out, which is commonly what people do when they sit in meditation and they end up with back pain because their whole abdomen is kind of spilling out, or their identity center is spilling out. So when you sit tall, keep the front belly to yourself and think about lengthening more upright. So on top of the sit bones, erect the spine to a lengthened position, hands gently underneath the knees. Now as you exhale, pelvic floor engages, and I really feel like that anal sphincter is moving forward, and as I do that, I'm feeling the deep lower transversus and also the area that controls the urethra and the bladder. So lower portion, let's say below the hip bone line to the pubis bone. So your bladder sits right there, and that's where you feel that retraction in, kind of the problem area that many women complain about. So as you keep that retraction in, you're going to create a little bit of a nod back with your sacrum, and it's an ever slightly tilt. We're not rounding in the spine, but rather just slightly moving in the pelvis due to the muscle activation. Now my feet are at about sits bones width. If necessary, now this is a cork block, I would rather much use a green ball or a foam block. Feel free to place a block between the knees just to help recruit the inner thighs and the line of the core. All right, here, let's go. Inhale, breathe in, breathe wide into your lungs. Exhale, contract deeply the pelvic core. Now inhale, gently recline back, much like you're riding a dentist chair, feeling the inner walls of that transversus really stay glued rather than the belly buckling out. Now if you're feeling hip flexors, either one, you're going too far back, or two, possibly your hip flexors are stronger than your deep core muscles, so back off. Don't go as far back, but definitely stick something between the knees if you're a hip flexor user. All right, so we have the tip. We're back, let's say about 45 degrees. The second we start rounding the spine, almost kyphosis-like, you're too far. And what ends up happening is we start grabbing with the chest muscles, and we may feel the earthquake, but really we're feeling it for the wrong reasons. So stay long with and open with your upper chest without flaring out the rib cage. Now hands lightly touch under the knees for as long as you need to. I'm going to point between the belly button and the pubis bone. Exhale, tip just a little bit more in. It's not that I'm thrusting in, but rather just feeling the contraction of my deep core, drawing more deeply to that solar plex area. All right, hands extend off the ball. Relax your shoulders. Inhale deeply, breathe wide into the lungs. Exhale completely. Feel the waistline co-contracting. That means all the muscles are working. If you touch your waistline, not just your front belly, you should feel like it's turned on. Inhale, lift the arms a little bit higher, relax your shoulders until you get to the point of that quake. You feel the transversus quiver. I want you to stay there and breathe. Inhale through the nose, and exhale. I'm contracting everything strongly. If I lift too high and my core is not strong enough, I'm going to end up rounding. We're losing it here. Inhale, open heart. Exhale, breathe deep. Now you can go further back, but it's not always necessary. Remember, we want to feel it for the right reasons, because I can still shake, but it doesn't mean I'm using the right muscles. Keep the pelvic floor engaged. Inhale, breathe deeply. Exhale completely. How's your body temperature going up? Probably. One more breath. Inhale. Now as you exhale, like I'm going to draw you up with a rope. Exhale, lead with the core, but get long through the top of the spine. Right back onto the sit bones again. Nice work. So whenever you're using the mini ball, just keep in mind form and function. So a lot of times exercises can move too fast and too quickly. And if you're not versed in knowing which muscles are turned on, but also versed in how to properly use the ball, sometimes we can do more harm than good in developing the wrong muscles in the wrong order. So always think deep muscles first. Transverse abdominal, okay, pelvic floor, obliques, then rectus, then psoas, then glutes, and erectors. So really thinking about slowly working your way out rather than just grabbing at whatever it is you possibly can. For more information, visit my website, hopezvara.com, and I can't wait to hear from you. From my heart to yours, from my soul to yours, get out that little mini ball and use it. Namaste.